Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Hannah Elliott, and this is Hot Pursuit. So we have David Gooding with us today. He is the president and founder of Gooding & Co., which he started with his wife, Dawn, in 2003. But actually, Gooding & Co. is now Gooding Christie's, which is really exciting because they're just, Christie's was in the car business and then they got out. Now they're back in and they're sort of bigger and better than ever. And, you know, I will say we've definitely chronicled the competition among the auction houses, and it's a real thing. But I have to say, universally, whenever I ask any of the other auction house people, they say very nice things about David. He is really universally liked and universally called a nice, decent guy. So that's really a tribute, and he's going to be great to have on the show.
And has, as we've learned, a very strong exclusive relationship really with Pebble Beach. So it's a nice preview for the trip that you and I are going to take there in August. Let's get straight to it. Well, welcome to Bloomberg, David. Great having you with us. Hannah's told me so many great things about you and your business. And so I'm really looking forward to basically hearing you guys chat, because she is the journalist responsible for covering the auctions and classic cars and collectors and stuff. And I'm usually interested in like trucks and muscle cars. So I'm going to let her kind of hog the ball here. So Hannah, why don't you take it away?
Call me Hannah the Hog. I love it. And I will say, I feel like trucks do dovetail with collecting.
Definitely.
David, thank you so much for joining us. It's really great to have you. Obviously, we've worked together for years. You've been in the industry forever. I think, did you start Gooding & Co. in 2003?
Correct. Yeah, we started in 2003. Yeah. Our first auction was 2004.
Wow. And
that's
not forever. It was just 2003.
He had been at you'd worked for everyone else. I think you got all the best practices and then started your own company. You were actually at Christie's in the 90s. Give that a run through, because even I don't know all back farther.
Okay. So in January of 1990, right as the car market was shifting, none of us had realized it. I joined Christie's, and I was at Christie's for 11 years and really learned the trade. And Christie's instilled in me and all of us that ethics were the certain way of doing business is the most important thing. That's all that you've got, really, above everything else. So I was there for 11 years. Then I worked at RM for 3.5 years. And after that, we started Gooding & Company in 2003. So it's been a long and interesting ride, and we've watched the market change, develop. I've seen, markets go up and down and watch it all happen. And it's been interesting to be there throughout it all.
David, I want to get to market talk, but just to put a pin in the arc of your career, the most recent news, of course, is that now Gooding and Christie's are back together, which must be so surreal for you, having been there before. Can you just tell us, how did that come about, and what does that mean for you in your, I don't think you really have a new role. You're kind of doing the same that you always did.
Yeah, no, the role doesn't feel really any different. So, to sort of go back, as I think I alluded to, I mean, I always felt very near and dear to Christie's. It was a soft spot in my heart. So even when we were competing against each other in the early 2000s, there was a friendly rivalry, and then Christie's for a while got out of the car business, but we worked very well together. They would refer business to us, we would refer business to them, and then a little over a year and a half ago, the chairman of Christie's pulled me in and said, we really need to change this. We want to acquire your company. And so it was not something that we were really, my wife and I were not really looking to do that. But it made a lot of sense. Each company has the same ethos. It's really a perfect marriage. So, we're now working together, or technically, I'm working for them, and we are busy expanding the business. I mean, we're going into Europe. We're looking at expanding our sales. We're adding staff. So it's great. I mean, we have the financial wherewithal behind us now that we can really compete on every level. So it's super exciting for us.
Can I just jump in and ask about your wife? Because I don't want to seem too cliche, but I've always, in my career, hooked up with really smart women. And I think that's been one of my advantages in life, right? My wife, Hannah, Carol Masser. Yeah. You talk about your wife. I guess your partners in the business, or what is that?
Yes, 100% partners now. I'm in charge of sales and a lot of the business, but she does all of our marketing and branding, and she's involved in finance and operations. So we complement each other very, very well, and it's been great for us because the sales end of the business requires so much travel, and she doesn't have to travel as much, and so we just it's been very good that while I'm out on the road getting cars for these various auctions, she's here holding down the fort, and she's brilliant in terms of marketing. She has a background in motion picture marketing, and her vision for our brand and our look and our feel, that's all her, and we became very well known for that. So I just it's a great partnership and marriage.
David, I guess I've never asked you this, but it strikes me that you're sort of the face of the company. I'm curious if did you and Dawn ever have a conversation that she actually doesn't want to have to do the heavy lifting of like talking to people like Matt and me, and she's very happy to let you do that?
Wait, this is heavy lifting for you?
Well, this isn't heavy lifting, but sometimes it's heavy lifting. I mean, we I don't know if we actually sat down and had that conversation or it just sort of developed. But we agree. I mean, there's so many things that she does so much better than I do that. So we just stick in our certain lanes, and it's kind of implicit. I think it's pretty obvious. There's a lot of things that I'm not very good at that she handles. And so it didn't need to be a conversation.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. So back to what I really wanted to ask you too, after the Christie's news, did Christie's come to you because they realized we need to get back into cars? I mean, what are they seeing in the market that made them think we need to get in on this again?
Yeah, well, I think they definitely saw that and realized it. I mean, the car market has exploded over the last few years, and they certainly were aware that so many of their clients that collect in other categories also collect in cars, and their competitors have vibrant car departments, and so they knew that it was an important aspect, and it's quite, in the luxury category and in everything that Christie's does, they are really at the top of their field. And there was this big vacuum where they just weren't in the car business. And so that, I think it became pretty obvious that they needed to be. So it worked out really well. We were excited to join together.
What is the unique selling point of Gooding. I mean, I know you've sold some really exclusive cars, the Yellowbird, Duesenberg SSJ, and some others that I've read about. And you're very closely connected to Pebble Beach, where Hannah and I, for the first time, Hannah's been there a million times, will go in August.
Great. Oh, I'm glad you're coming out. So, yeah, I mean, we are, we've always been very involved at Pebble Beach. We've been the auction house there. Well, Christie's was an auction house there, and then Gooding took over the spot. So now it's great that it's Gooding Christie's again. I guess we pride ourselves on not doing the most sales, but really focusing in on quality and transparency and integrity. And I think I know we're quite passionate about the objects. We really we're very enthusiastic about the cars. Not to say that others are not, but we get really focused on bringing out the best of every car that we consign, and we search the world. I just got back from the UK to get a big car that we'll be announcing soon. So we're constantly searching the world for the best kind of cars that we can find that are different, that we think that the market will respond to really well.
What are you seeing? Like when you just travel and you're looking at cars, like what has the market produced this summer?
Yeah. So, it's we're offered a lot and we turn away a lot. So the market, there are a lot of things that people put towards us that we say, and they may be great cars, but they may be priced too high, or we feel that there have been too many similar cars like that offered on the market. We feel like, we try to build a sale that is interesting and has a lot to offer. And we also are trying very hard to be conscious of what else is coming on the market. And that's hard because obviously our competitors we don't know what they have, and they don't know what we have. So we try to balance things out and offer something that will respond, our clients will respond well to.
What are people trying to
well, sometimes, here's the thing. I mean, sometimes it's not what, we can hear, clients will say, oh, I want I want a really special roof, or I want, I want this kind of Ferrari or this kind of Duesenberg. But we actually always also try to think, what can we, they don't necessarily, sometimes we can try to anticipate what they want without them even knowing. So that sounds a little,
presumptuous.
Yeah, presumptuous. I don't mean it to be. But I think that
you're forecasting.
Yeah, we can just see that. Oh, this is something really special. We know that their tastes are like this, and therefore they would like that. And we try to match that, and it's exciting. And it's really exciting when it works. Sometimes it doesn't work, but that's part of the fun of the auction business. It is a real test. I mean, you kind of, you put yourself out there, you put these cars out there, you're and the market speaks, and sometimes it applauds really loudly and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. We all learn from it. I like the real feedback. It's a real test. It's not some, kind of manufactured thing that sometimes cars sell very well and sometimes they don't. And that is the market speaking.
It does seem like, if the money's in the room, the money's in the room. And if it's not, figuratively speaking, obviously.
Yeah. And sometimes we have cars that we're super excited about that we think will do exceptionally well, and they can do just okay. Or, other times they really surprise you. So you don't know, and that's, when you think you know, then that's dangerous. You can have an idea, and you know, but you don't know for sure.
What is the conversation that you're having with people selling things, consigning things, and also those looking for things in terms of, are they talking about tariffs? Are they talking about,
Sure.
socioeconomic and political factors? What's the chatter?
Well, the tariff, the introduction of tariffs in April, we basically should have taken the month off of April. We should we should have all gone on vacation then, because it just stopped all conversations. We were in discussion with a lot of clients from England and Europe who were talking about bringing cars over to Pebble Beach, and it shut everything down. And but not only that, even our U.S. clients were distracted by it. They obviously were focusing on their investments, the stock market, all kinds of things, all of the news, and so that certainly had an effect this year. So what that did is it really compressed our time. I mean, usually April, May, June is a real busy time for us in business gathering, in getting the consignments. What it did this year is it compressed it all into June, and now we're just getting the last few cars in for Pebble Beach in July. It's really tight, but so that's what it's done. It's really just compressed our window. So I think all the noise, and I would call it all the distraction of that has calmed down a little bit, and people are ready to move on and kind of make decisions anyway and commitments anyway. So
when some of the concern, sorry, Matt, I'll let you ask a question. Just to follow up, some of the concern specifically was even if vintage cars were exempt from these very high tariffs, parts would still be taxed.
Yeah.
And it was unclear if a car had certain alloy or steel components, whether it be taxed partially based on that percentage of the car, right? It was just very
It was very unclear, and the messaging was unclear. So it was, people saying chaos. It was chaos. Yeah. So, nobody really knew, and people didn't want to make big decisions, which I understand. But I think now it has calmed down a little bit, and certainly for pre-2000 cars, which is a lot of what we sell, it's calmed down. And again, I think a lot of it was just people not wanting to focus on their car side of their life and really focus more on everything else that they were dealing with. I mean, a lot of our clients are very active in business, and so they were, they were dealing with more urgent issues first, and then they kind of came out of the cloud and could talk about their summer plans.
You mentioned the pre-2000 cars, and I'm looking at a list of, it may be, an AI hallucination, but a list of the most famous cars you've sold, and almost all of them look like pre-1960. Right? You've got the Duesenberg, the aforementioned Duesenberg, 1935, Talbot Lago, 1937, 1903 Mercedes Simplex, but then you get a bunch of 50s Ferraris. Right. The requisite Bugatti Type 59, Alfa Romeo 8C, also 1930s cars. And the only thing modern I see is the Yellowbird, 1989 CTR Yellowbird, and the 1995 McLaren F1. Is that starting to change a little, David? Are you selling newer cars, or are people, are the highest net worth individuals still focused on the classic sort of pre-war American cars and the 50s Ferraris?
Oh, we're definitely selling a lot more contemporary, newer cars than we ever did before. Definitely trending that way. I mean, in the what you're seeing in the north of $10 million range, they tend to be more classic era cars, not as much Porsches and things like that. But we have sold. We still hold the record for the Porsche mark with a 917 that we sold. That's obviously a 60s Porsche, but we sold
beautiful car.
We sold Le Mans winning Porsche 956 from the 80s. So there are much more contemporary cars. A lot of our bread and butter cars are 993 Porsches and more contemporary cars like that. Lots of more contemporary Ferraris, Mercedes. So yeah, we're seeing that. We've sold McLaren F1s. We'll continue to sell McLaren F1s, but to get north of $15 million, it tends to be a classic era car. And but
I see this 1995 McLaren F1 sold at Pebble Beach in 2017 for $15.62 million.
That was we sold a McLaren F1 for more money than 15. It brought 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a stunning
serious cash.
Yeah.
For a 1990s car,
Are the people who buy something like that, is that someone who's buying like Bitcoin and lives in Dubai and like what type of buyer is that?
So that was
names, but you can't.
Yeah. I can give you sort of a profile that was an American collector who we've known for a long time. And I was a bit surprised that he bought that car. That was newer territory for him. But I mean, he follows the typical profile of our clientele.
Are these guys all anonymous, or do you have buyers who are pretty open about what they're doing?
Both. There are some that are very open, and a lot tend to be more anonymous. But yeah, they're very open. Some are extremely private about it. But I would say, it's tends to be about 70% are pretty anonymous about it. But then, of course, when they take these cars to a classic car show or to a concours, it all gets revealed.
Can I ask you about the conversation that you have with sellers about reserve prices? And this is something Matt and I have discussed and debated before about the merits of having a reserve.
Yeah.
What do you counsel people? And maybe it depends on the car, and you can talk to us about the nuances. But what are the benefits of setting a reserve or not? Because I think, if you don't have a reserve, the market truly speaks for itself.
It does. We have these sales, estate sales, oftentimes where everything is no reserve, and the cars that we have at any of our auctions, anything $250,000 or below is without reserve. Oftentimes we have cars that are north of that value that are without reserve. I think particularly on high production, easy to value cars, I think of like a 300 SL Mercedes, a Going or a Roadster. That is a perfect car. That is a perfect valuable car. They tend to be, they're worth over $1 million. That is a perfectly safe, valuable car to put in at no reserve. Now that's easy for me to say. It's not my neck on the line there, but
it's kind of a known thing.
In this day and age, especially at an auction like Pebble Beach, it's the world stage. It's where the many world records are set year after year after year. Everyone will be there. A 300 SL is going to sell for a market price, whatever the market is. If you're accepting, I'm going to sell the car this year, I'm going to sell it for a market price. I think it's better to put it in no reserve if you're comfortable with that, because actually what that does is it focuses all of the potential buyers. They think, I'm kind of casually looking at that car, but I'm not sure if it's really going to if it's priced right, or maybe it will sell, maybe it won't sell. When you say it's no reserve, it is going to sell. It's going to roll
Yeah.
on stage. It's selling no matter what. So you better you better really focus, because if you want to, if you think, oh, I'll pay 1.2 for that car all day long, well, you better look at it. You better do your research, because it could sell for 1.1. It could sell for 1.3. But get in the fight. And so definitely no reserve can be great. It of course can be risky, but I think it's very good. Again, especially on cars that are like that, or cars that are so fresh to the market, and if you have a low cost basis and you really just you're going to sell the car anyway, it's better to just put it at no reserve.
And as a spectator, it's exciting. I mean, I love going to auctions just to watch. I think they're so fun, and people should do it.
I often encourage people, come watch, even if you're not into cars. It's just an interesting dynamic to see it. So I'm excited, Matt, that you're going to be.
I can't wait. By the way, were you into cars before, or is this? Is it because did you get into cars because of the auction business, or have you always been kind of a gearhead?
My dad was an automotive museum curator, so I grew up in automotive museums.
Yeah.
So he told me, don't ever get in the car business. You love cars. You want to collect them. You'll never make money in the car business. You should be a dentist. I'm glad I didn't follow his advice. He gave me a lot of other great advice, though. But he was. He was, as a museum curator, really never was able to collect the cars that he was passionate about. But what it did was it gave me a great education. After school every day, I would go to these automotive museums and study the cars and hang out in the libraries and read the books. And I had no plans to go into this business, but I needed a job out of college, so
what's your thing? I mean, I guess since your dad was a museum curator, you probably already had very sort of haute couture taste. I never heard of a Talbot Lago, for example.
So my thing, I really love. I love performance cars from any era. So what a lot of people don't realize is the very old cars. Pre-World War I cars can be very exciting and fun to drive and very fast. And so I really like that era car. I like cars from the 30s. I love cars from the 30s, but anything that is really performance oriented, the 50s and 60s, they're just different eras that are magical and exciting. And so I grew up around all of those, and I have a natural love for those, but I've come to love more contemporary cars as well. So I like it all, but I think my natural, I would say my natural soft spot is pre-74 and earlier. So anything from, we've sold a 1896 steam car, 1886 steam car, which was a race car from 1886, which is kind of crazy.
That's not the one you had at Retromobile.
That was the 03 Mercedes.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
I will always obviously sort of remember that car. That was
incredible car. Absolutely incredible car. That was the McLaren F1 of 1903, an unbelievable car. Maybe the most important car we ever sold. So,
can I ask about the restoration of those cars? Do you guys do in-house restoration, and how? Okay. So how does that work if someone has something that is really significant, but it needs a little bit of love?
So, I mean, we will do very light work to bring a car back to life. If we have a barn discovery and we think it can be brought, it could be running with just a very little effort of, changing the oil and fluids and fuel and whatnot, we'll do that. But we tend not to do restoration work. We're not a restoration business. We actually have that's a whole complicated specialty that we have tremendous respect for, and we're friends, and we love to collaborate with a lot of these restoration shops, and they do what they do very, very well, and we don't want to compete with them, and so we'll send work their way, and they'll often refer cars to us, but that's restoration is. I have tremendous respect for those specialists and experts. So we tend, the other thing is, I mean, from a market point of view, also layered on top of what I just said was that you never quite know what the next client is going to want to do with the car. They may want to not touch it at all. We had a alloy bodied 275 Ferrari that was covered in dust, and we pulled it out of this barn. And the fellow that bought it just got it running, but he didn't touch it. It's still dirty. It needs a car wash, but he just drives it around like that. He uses it and drives it like that. So you don't want to make an assumption of what a client will want to do with a car. And, sometimes clients will want to restore them. Sometimes they want to leave them exactly as they are. Sometimes they'll do something in the middle. And
that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a way to get your Ferrari to stand out.
Oh, yeah. I was a little surprised. I mean, I thought, and he's an incredible client and friend. But if I were initially, I would have washed the car, and now it's been about 10 years and I think it looks really cool. And I applaud him. I'm like, God, I'm glad that wasn't me. I would have cleaned it and it would have looked like so many other 275s. And now it stands out and looks different. He cleaned the windows so he could see out of it, but that's it.
By the way, David, you obviously develop relationships with, I'm sure, the sellers and the buyers here. And so if I look at a list of the cars you sell, most of them are at Pebble Beach or at Amelia Island. But I wonder if someone would come to you and say, listen, I want to sell this, Bugatti, but I don't want to do it at an auction. Do you know anybody who wants to buy it? Do you do
Sure.
a substantial amount of private sales like that?
Yes, we do. We do many private sales. We actually, Bugatti is a great example. We sold a Bugatti years ago for a family. They had the Williamson family. They had one of the best Bugatti collections ever assembled, and we sold 10 of the cars and all of the money went for charity at auction. But then the Bugatti Atlantique, which was it's one of the greatest Bugattis there is, they wanted that sold privately. So we did a private sale of that. So yes, we do private sales. We've sold. We have the highest price world record for a Ferrari, which we sold privately. Actually, we've sold many Ferraris, but 250 GTO. We've sold a couple 250 GTO Ferraris privately. So yes, we'll do private sales. More of our sales are at auction, but definitely we do private sales. And it really depends on the car, the timing, the needs of the seller that we really give advice. And oftentimes people will say, I want to sell something privately, but then we'll counsel them and say, where do we think something will sell best? So it really depends.
By the way, do you ever talk to, when I think about Bugattis, I think about the classics initially only, but then I think about they still make cars that are really cool. And I was lucky enough to go to Molsheim and see, the mansion and the factory, and it was such a cool thing. Do you ever talk to the people who are building these new cars and they say, hey, David, what should we do about these taillights don't work right? Or, give anybody advice, because you're not just an auctioneer. Obviously, your father was a museum curator. So you're someone with vast knowledge of the histories of these marks.
Yeah, well, I've been to many of the factories. I have not been to the Bugatti factory, and I would love to go. It's on my list of things to do. But I have been to many of the factories, and we've been involved in launches of new cars throughout the years and everything. no one's ever consulted us on designing. So I don't know. Yet exactly. That's maybe a goal. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a car designer, but now it's so committee driven and everything. I don't know. I think it might be kind of frustrating to they used to be, it used to be the vision of one person that could really make their design seen, but now it's very corporate and everything. So no, I haven't been involved in design, but I would love to.
I wasn't thinking about Volkswagen. I was thinking about like Horatio Pagani or Monte Rimac,
Koenigsegg.
Get in
there. Get in there.
Yeah. I should see. Yeah, something else to do. So
right.
Perhaps.
So, David, what's your advice for Matt or anyone or me going to Pebble Beach, Monterey Car Week, especially from you guys at the auction? But what should we be watching for? What do you want to highlight?
Well, going to, Matt, if it's your first time, just sit in the audience and watch it all unfold. As I say, it's exciting to see. There will be some things that perform very, very well, and kind of just watch it. See if you can pick out why they perform well. If you can walk around during the viewing, look at the cars ahead of time. When you see the cars, we photograph them beautifully. But when you see them in person, they really come alive. There's just it's amazing. And
I will brag and say I've been invited to ride in a Duesenberg in the Dawn Patrol. I don't know what that is, the Dawn Patrol. But
Matt, you have to do that.
Oh, I'm going to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's super exciting. Oh,
who invited you?
Yeah.
Someone who works for McKeel Haggerty invited me to ride in his. So
good. Okay,
that's great.
That.
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely you'll enjoy that. That's a very special thing to experience, rolling on the lawn in the car like that.
I don't think I've ever ridden in a pre-war car at all, in any pre-war car.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
it'll be new for me.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be fun. You'll enjoy that. My favorite event of the week is the Thursday, the tour, because you see all the cars that are going to be on the lawn on Sunday, but they're out there for the first time. Oftentimes the owners are seeing them after extensive restorations for the first time, and the cars fire up and they take off, and to see the cars in motion, at fairly good speed, as opposed to, driving over a ramp, which is one thing, which is great, but to see them like take off and fire up, it's really, that's special. So definitely soak in the Thursday thing. And the great thing is you can watch all that unfold and then just walk right into our tent and look at the viewing, and then kind of study the cars, and then you'll see them sell on Friday and Saturday night.
Soak it all up. Yeah. That is a really cool thing about Pebble Beach. It's like each one of those cars that you see on the lawn actually runs, and that's part of what they're evaluated on. These aren't,
yes,
trailer queens.
Yep. Yeah. And hearing them and seeing them in motion, and seeing them against, seeing cars in context. That's the, when you see them with other cars of the era, or, you really begin to appreciate how incredible they were for their time, or still are. And that's really exciting. So that, I love the tour for that reason. And the other nice thing about the tour is that the cars are mixed up. They're not by class. It's fun to see them in class on the lawn on Sunday, but to see them there, you'll see a tiny little Alfa Romeo next to a giant Duesenberg or Mercedes, or, and different eras, and all are fantastic. So it's really fun.
David, I know we're coming to the end of our time, but I also want to ask about Retromobile.
Yes.
next year. This is, this really fabulous car show that's been in Paris for many years, but it's coming to the States. And I know you guys are a big part of that. Can you kind of give us a preview of what to expect?
Sure. So, Retromobile, you've been to Retromobile. I don't know, Matt, if you've been, but if not, that's another thing you've got to do.
I would love to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so Retromobile in Paris, it's the biggest car event in Europe. It happens end of January and February. We're doing an auction there. We're the selected auction house to hold an auction there. So we're super excited about that. It will be our first auction in France. And then Retromobile for the first time is moving that magical, fantastic, unique event to bring it to the United States. It'll be in New York at the Javits Center in November, and we're going to do an auction there. And Retromobile, for people that are not familiar with it, it's the best automobile trade show there is. I mean, there are the world's top dealers they build these fantastic stands and shows. And show their top cars that they have for sale. There are manufacturers that bring out their latest cars as well as their heritage cars, private collectors, clubs. It's really wonderful. And then there are little sections where you can buy vintage car parts or fashion. If you want to buy helmets or goggles and driving shoes, things like that. There's all kinds of things. If you're looking for that carburetor that you haven't found for years and years, you might find it there. It's just a great event like nothing else.
It is really cool. And I really hope, it's so charming in Paris because it's Paris.
Yes.
So I really hope New York can kind of develop its own spin on it, and really it'll take hold.
Yeah, I'm confident that it will. I mean, the organizers are very excited about it. They're extremely creative, and they want to bring the French flair, but keep it American, but bring the whole ethos of Retromobile Paris to New York. And they were debating different cities, and we had discussed it a little bit. And I said, "Come on, there's like the obvious city is New York." I mean, yeah, exactly. And the great fun thing about that event, unlike some other car events where you're kind of just locked into just being at the car event, the great thing about Retromobile is you come and go. It happens over a few days. So, in Paris, you go in and then you go have a fantastic meal or something outside and come back, later in the day or the next day. Same kind of thing will happen in New York. People will come and go and enjoy the city around it, and just have the magic of the venue, the city all around you. So,
by the way, I just want to ask one more question. I know we're running up against the clock here, but for people who can't spend a lot of time going to Retromobile, going to Pebble Beach, what are some good resources to be introduced to this world? Because there's not some very popular pre-war car forum. But I know there's some books. Miles Car.
There are some, but they're not perhaps known as well. There's like pre-war car.
Or not as accessible, right?
Right.
So do I go to the Revs Institute or?
Yes. Revs is fantastic. I'm very involved there. Incredible resource. Revs is wonderful. Peterson is wonderful. There are the Peterson Museum is fantastic. There are many resources. There are also clubs that do great. They have great resources as well. So it really depends on the type of car that you're.
I'm just wondering about the pre-war stuff. Because I'd love to get into like a flathead V8 and a 1930s Ford, but I don't know, like there's no hot rod clubs around me that I know about, and I don't have access to Miles Collier on the regular basis. So like who are the people who know this stuff? What book should I read? Yeah.
You can, I mean, start off by going to go on the Revs website. That's a great source. You live in New York, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see, in the New York area, I mean, there are cars and coffee events. I can definitely, I'd be happy to connect you with some V8 Ford guys that they're great.
I would love that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got a lot of friends up in Vermont area that are into V8 Fords and stuff, so I could connect you there. It's a great world, and those cars are fun, beautiful, very affordable. I think a tremendous value. So yeah, I'm excited for you. I think that's a great event. So things like, if not too far from New York, but in October is the Hershey Classic Car Swap Meet. You will see tons and tons of cars there. There's thousands of cars and many, many, many V8 Fords and things like that, and people that are crazy about them. So yeah, we can connect you with all kinds of people.
Very cool. A new mission.
Yeah.
David, it's been fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Our thanks to David Gooding, president and founder of Gooding & Company, for joining us. And that does it for this edition of Hot Pursuit. For Hannah Elliott, I'm Matt Miller, and this is Bloomberg.